It is recording now.
Okay, and when we get to the point where there may be questions, I don't know how it's best way. There's 47 people on here right now, so it might be good to Jess, are you going to be following the
Chat.
chat?
Yeah.
So if someone asks a question or needs to speak, just shoot a chat message over, and Gabriel will let you in. If you can't see him, I guess you can see his shoulder, but the treasurer is on. He's running the computer tonight for us, and he can also answer some questions if you need answered. All right, another student. Berthia is on here. Good to see our students coming on. And we'll see y'all soon. All right, so are there any general questions concerning this COVID document before I guess we should cover some that have been sent to me before we just open it up. I had a parent send me some questions, so we're going to answer those questions right now. And if you have need further clarification, let me know. So, will masks be provided by the school, or does everyone need to bring their own? We will be providing one mask for the students. It's cloth, can be washed. If they wanted to wear that every day, I guess they could, but for more masks, they would need to be provided by students. So there'll be one mask, and it'll be DDC approved. It's going to have our emblem on it. A recommendation on how many of these and how often they should be cleaned. It's what you think your student will need. If you have a student you know does just not wash clothes on a regular basis, you might want to get more. If somebody who washes clothes regularly, you know your child, how many they would need. There's 7 days to think about that we'll have to be using these masks, and we'll go over a little bit what that looks like. I'm not sure how soon it should be cleaned. I would find it quite gross to have a mask that I didn't wash regularly, each day. But that's me. Somebody else may want to go shorter than that or more. So it'd be up to what you and your student decide. The next question was, what will the policy be regarding weekend leaves and students going off campus with family and friends? This is one that's really in flux. You will notice in our document, I'm going to refer you to page, let's see, where is that one? It's going to be page 4, and it's the fourth, that's the nurses. Page 3, thank you. That's why we have people here, keep me in line. Page 3, and it is on bullet 4. You'll see what we have written down, understanding that this could go one way or the other depending on our governor. So currently, the governor has said that we must, the quarantining is just recommended, and there's not a whole lot of restrictions other than masks and trying to social distance. However, he just told Philadelphia that they have to go virtual the whole time, that they cannot have face-to-face schooling. So who knows before that kind of comes our way or more restrictions. So currently right now, if you're looking at that document, it says basically that to keep students and personnel safe, minimal visitors will be allowed within the school. So we encourage you as families to do most of your business virtually and from a distance, because we're trying to keep the campus as quarantined. It's not quite the right word, but as we want the government to see us as being a quarantine type situation, and we do want to keep the COVID off campus. So we're trying to keep everything on campus right now. If you come up to see your child, there's some policies written down in here about having to have your temperature taken, making sure you have masks, following the social distancing, staying outside the buildings until staff members know you're there so we can deal with it. And we will be asking you not to take your child home. We are not going to have a home leave up until Thanksgiving. And at Thanksgiving, you'll have a 6 to 8 week break. We don't know at that point exactly what the government's going to do, but we do know that currently right now, on the 25th of Thanksgiving, break will start, and I think school starts on the 4th. Is that right, of January? Yes. That's what we have published. That will be determined by what the governor says or what the legislature says, or whatever happens with our guidelines. So there'll be a nice long 6 week break there. Any questions else coming up from people?
No, not yet.
I don't want to just plow through if someone needs clarification.
We did hear a question about village? How is it
Yeah. We'll be working on the village situation with our staff. We have staff meetings all next week and trying to figure out what we're going to do there. That is a problem. I don't think there's any perfect way we can do it. We do know this, taking your child home and going to Philadelphia is probably not the best deal. Those of you that live in Philadelphia, because of the situation with the governor, I don't know what the other cities are like. But it's going to be a fluid situation. So I know it's tough. Please bear with us through the semester as we try to work something out. All right, and let's see here. The next question.
Will there be mini breaks as we go along?
Mini breaks is in school?
Yeah.
No, there will not be any home leaves. The students won't be in school 7 days a week. We're going to be we're going to be very creative with what we're doing. A good example is Sight and Sound is offering the new Esther play. And so what we're going to do is we're thinking about the weather holds, having an outside showing of that with a bonfire. It's in September. And just trying to do different things to make it a good experience here. We have our woods behind us, those that are inclined for outdoors. We can go up to the AT. If we drive our kids anywhere, it will be where there's not anybody at, or very minimal interaction for them to get out in the woods or have some activities. We won't be able to take them to Walmart. I know that's one of the questions coming up as well. But what we'll do is you can order and then we'll go pick it up. And so we'll make deliveries that way. And how long this lasts, that'll be deterrent on our governor. I mean, he may come in October and say, okay, we can release this back and then we'll be able to get back more to normal. But I'm not holding out hope for that yet.
Another question. So the break is from November 25 to January 4, just to confirm.
That's correct.
Well,
And that, is it January 3?
Well, Sunday, January 3, they should be back to
Right.
start on the
School
4th.
starts on the 4th.
And we're dismissed on Wednesday at 12:30.
Right.
November
It's a half day
25.
on the 25th. That's the last day of finals for first semester. So everybody heard that question. Make sure you
Yeah.
read it. So yes, you can plan on that. Now that could go longer. Depends on COVID, depends on the government, what they're telling us. We may end up doing have to do some distance learning, but we're trying to avoid that if we can. Avoid it like the plague, if possible. So by keeping our students here, and hopefully that'll give us an opportunity to be able to keep the face-to-face going, which is a way better way to teach.
Any special procedures for the registration day?
Yes. Where did I write down those details? We just met on that yesterday. What we're going to be doing is a lot of the finances, and some of you guys can chime in with me here. Some of the finances are done ahead of time. So one of the big log jams should be minimized this time. We're also trying to social distance in some of the bigger rooms or spread things around by like the books. Those that pay for the books ahead of time will have them already together with names on. You come by, we hand you your books. So there's not a big log jam out in front of Mrs. Egan's office as well. So we're trying to keep things smooth. We're allowing 2 people to go in with the student into the dorm to help them move in. And we just ask that you remember to keep your masks on when you're around people and that try to distance the best you can and not to loiter in the dorm rooms, but to kind of move on in and out.
And just to give a little more about registration day, we're trying to do as much as we can online. And I know it takes away a little bit of that interaction with the families and sitting down with you guys and spending that time, but we do have to deal with this reality. So most of the paperwork that was done during registration day is now done online on the online enrollment packets. It's very important that you finalize your enrollment packet and you submit that before you come on Sunday. If you have any questions, you can email us, you can call us. I know for me, email is the best way, but you can try to call as well. And we'll try to help you out with the enrollment process. The same for financial aid application is done completely online with all the paperwork listed on our website as well, everything that's needed. Textbooks, Ms. Ingen sent a list of the textbooks. They're posted online. You can submit your order, pay for the textbooks online so your textbooks are ready for pickup for your student when they come in. So as much as we can, we're trying to do all of these process online, remotely, before we arrive on August 9. So your cooperation with that is greatly appreciated, so we can minimize the interaction and the amount of people at one point here at the school. Anything else?
I was just gonna say that I know that returning students all had the opportunity to sign up for their classes all summer long, and so they've been doing that. New students, if you're listening right now and you're a new student and you think, how do I know what textbooks to sign up for? Because I don't even know what my classes are. That's where I've been trying to contact people as we go. Some are contacting me. So if you haven't been contacted yet, please email me or call me. Even if I don't answer right away, we have lots of meetings, lots of people, but I will get back to you, and then that will help you decide what books you need to turn in that list. And then returning students, if you've changed your mind about something, it would be good to tell us now. And remember, you always have 2 weeks from when school starts to make changes. So to add things, to drop things, to switch things, so it doesn't all have to happen on registration day, except it might affect your textbooks, you know, returning them or getting them. So we can take care of that as much as possible by phone and email. I know I've done most of the freshmen, or all the freshmen. I've sent them all a list. I have a couple of sophomores left to do, a couple of juniors, and 1 senior. So I think we've gotten most everyone, so please let's be in contact.
There's a question about the student work program and having the students working during the break in the winter. We are still working on our work program and making sure that the students are able to accomplish their hours and get their funding, while also accommodating the necessity of the break and the reality of the COVID situation. At this point, we don't think we're going to be able to provide that work time after we closed on break, but we are evaluating that, and we'll have more information later on if we are able to accommodate that.
And we don't know what's going to happen second semester with those 2 breaks. Once again, that we're just kind of moving with what we're allowed to do. So what's safe right now, looks like all the Adventist schools are trying to end by Thanksgiving because of the uncertainty. So.
Another question, will there be a fee if a storm is coming and the students are forced to stay in their dorms? So I guess after the break, if something happens and they are forced. Yeah. Yeah.
No, if
Oh,
If there's a blizzard. Okay.
I was like, how do you know there's a blizzard?
Will they be charged?
Yeah.
Well, not if it's just a few days. We won't worry about that. But
Are they talking about a village student staying in case of that weather?
yeah, clarify.
'Cause that has happened already.
Well, and there's many questions, so and that person might write after, but if there is a storm that is a couple of days and just to clear that out, then no, we wouldn't have a big charge for that, or we wouldn't have a charge for that, and we do have it as part of our policy in our handbook. If it's an extended amount of time, we'll have to evaluate how long that would be and what needs to be done.
Yeah, we understand there's going to have to be flexibility across the board. So
next question, what has the dialogue been like with the governor? Is there any indication that they are open to considering an exemption for BMA?
now both the superintendent of education for the Pennsylvania Conference and our vice principal have been burning up the wires, trying to get a hold of somebody at the governor's office, and nobody answers, nobody returns calls. So we're still trying. We're planning to go forward with this. We know at least one school that maintained throughout COVID this last year, and that's why we're hoping that we'll be able to quarantine our campus. We know that last time we had already sent the kids home. The governor finally contacted us, his representatives, and they were okay with us quarantining then. So, but it was too late. At that point, we'd already sent kids home. Some of our international students had already gone home. So we're hoping that's going to be the same situation. We're planning like that's going to be the same situation. So hopefully that'll occur. Well, hopefully we won't have to do any quarantining. But
There is a question, next question. Do we have to wear BMA mask or can we bring our own as well?
Matthew, you don't want to wear BMA masks. No, you can bring your own. In fact, I would recommend you bring your own.
But it needs to be appropriate.
Appropriate mask. But define.
And when I say appropriate, it shouldn't have any like things that advertise things that wouldn't represent BMA or Christian lifestyle,
Right.
sort of thing. So
It's
no
like any dress code.
devil things or anything like that.
Yes,
Because I've
Matthew.
seen them out there.
I don't think that's a problem. Matthew.
Next question is, how will eating in the cafeteria be done with regard to social distancing?
What we've done is did we actually buy the little?
Yep. We order them. Yeah.
We're printing off. We have these little circles that we put in the cafeteria where people can stand on that are 6 feet apart. When you go through line, you'll have your mask on, get your food. When you get back to your table, we'll have distancing at the tables, and you'll be able to take your masks off to eat. We won't make you eat through your masks. But that's how it'll happen without just trying to keep people apart in line. And then when they sit down, distancing at the tables.
There's another question about the village kids and how is the school going to work on them. I think we talked a little bit about that. And do we want to say anything else or?
No, we'll be putting together a policy.
Yeah.
That we talked about it, but recently it's kind of, we've been focusing on other things. And so we'll come up with a policy for that next week with our staff.
Next, is there any chance that school will start online due to the pandemic, or that is out of the question?
If the governor right now were to tell us we had to, we would. Otherwise, we're not. I was on a meeting with the Columbia Union principals, and they are all planning on starting, not all of them, but most of them are, and the ones that can't, some of the day schools actually have a harder situation as all their students go home every day. We've got a better situation in a boarding academy to be able to control things a little bit easier. So the boarding schools that I know, they're starting right off. Spring Valley in Ohio, they're going to be split because they're a day school. So some of them are going to be on for 2, off for 3, and vice versa. But all the boarding schools are starting and trying to get as many days in as they can face to face.
Next question is, how are touring groups going to follow new guidelines?
Choir is going to be taught in the church so we can spread apart. Bel Canto will be fine in their room because they can distance in there. I'm assuming the bells that could sound interesting, Eric, with bells.
Yeah, we've got to spread out more.
We'll just be spreading out.
Guidelines from the handbell manufacturing.
So we have some ideas there then. And AA is impervious to COVID, so there's no issues there. We're basically going to be doing individual stunts. We'll work the trampoline, we'll work the mini tramp, we'll do tumbling. So it's to minimize the group contact. The governor has put out kind of guidelines for sports, and if you're involved in the sport, you play without your mask. If you're on the sidelines or if you are in the crowd or just sitting around the area, then you have to keep your masks on or be social distanced. So we'll be following the same guidelines for sports. AA is going to be interesting.
As far as tours.
Tours are canceled for semester. All trips are canceled for semester.
But we will do some video production.
Yes.
And so we'll have reasons to learn songs and music
right.
and perform it.
It'll be virtual.
Yeah.
So our staff in the back, we need to be a little louder so they can hear us.
Or at BMAC.
All right. Another question: will there be any exceptions? On masks for children whose doctor says they should not wear one?
According to the government, that if you have a health issue, then you are exempt from masks, is what I'm understanding. So Yeah, if you bring a doctor's note, something that we can document, then they just have to make sure they distance as best they can. In the classrooms, we're going to be distancing. So the rule is there that as long as you're 6 feet apart, you can take your masks off. Otherwise, then you'll have to keep them on in there.
We do need the note from the doctor.
Yes,
documentation.
We need documentation for that because we're trying to conform to what the government would like us to do. We don't want to become a target if they find out, these guys are just thumbing their nose at us. We don't want that to happen, and then they come down on us. So we want to be in compliance as much as we can.
What about gym class? How is that going to be done?
Okay, we were just thinking about that. We've been rethinking how we're going to do PE. I've been rethinking how I'm going to do PE. It was supposed to be a school-wide workout program in the morning. As I thought back to the 90 students I had last year in PE, I realized how crowded they were, and then sweat and all kinds of stuff flies when you're exercising like that. So what we're going to be doing this year is we're going to be suspending the mandatory PE for the whole school, and I'll be teaching a traditional physical education program to those that have to have it for graduation. So it'll be a much smaller crew, and that way we can distance.
There is a common follow-up about the documentation of a doctor's note. Requiring documentation of a medical condition is a HIPAA law violation. We're not requiring a note of the medical condition. That's what's protected by the HIPAA law. We are requiring a note telling us that they don't have to use the mask.
Right.
So it's not the medical condition. It's just similar to when you're sick and the doctor says you can't go to work. There's no medical condition. It's just telling you can't go to work and then you can't go back to work. So it's just that note, not the medical condition, but just that the mask cannot be worn.
And that's normal for schools to require doctor's notes saying that I saw this student. And that's it. They don't have to say anything about it.
The next is, what is the current enrollment for BMA?
Ruben?
Working on this. Right now we have confirmed 82 students, and there's about 15 in the process of application.
So if you didn't hear him, he said there's 82 students right now, 15 in the process of applications. Our budget was set on 80. We were being conservative because of this COVID. One of the problems is our international numbers are down 25, about right? Yeah. About 25 students. That's substantial. And that's because they can't get into the country. There's too many blocks allowing them. Some of them are able to from Mexico. We're getting some of our Mexican students back if they were old students returning. But some of the other ones, they're having to either take our distance learning until they can get in or find a different school. And all the new students that we have recruited internationally are not able to get to the country. So we're working to try to get them on for the distance learning, and then they can hopefully get back into the school second semester.
Another question, how will the number of people in the bathrooms be controlled during the morning and evening?
That will be part of the training that the deans will have with people. I was trying to think of where this would occur. You're talking about in the dorms. So I don't know if we'll have someone there like at Walmart but maybe an RA during study hall might have to keep whatever floor it is, that RA might have to do that. That's a good question. I actually hadn't thought about that one either. So let me write that one down. I have a pad here that I can keep thoughts down.
There was a question about how gym class, how about gym class? How is that going to be done? I think you answer that.
I think it's important to say the regularity of cleaning the bathrooms and all the process.
Right. Yeah, so Mr. Olm wanted to remind us that we have hired someone specifically for cleaning the ad building morning and evening. It's an adult that we've hired. So above and beyond whatever Mrs. Ingen's crew does in the ad building as well. So there's going to be plenty of cleaning going on. We're going to have a sanitizer around, lots of soap and water and disinfectant. So sanitizing in the classrooms. So to keep these, we should be the cleanest campus, cleanest and disease-freest campus that we've ever probably been. So we'll see if we have a drop-in sick list.
Will Ringfest be pushed back or canceled?
It has been canceled.
It has been canceled.
Ringfest is canceled. I know that Acrofest has been canceled. Has there been anything else canceled? Probably, I don't know if College Days has been postponed for YU, if it's just canceled. But right now, everything first semester at the universities,
Science Fest?
canceled. Canceled. Science Fest, which is so disappointing. Andrews does such a wonderful job with their Science Fest, their STEM Fest. So I'm really disappointed that our juniors aren't going to be able to attend that. It really is great for people with an engineering mind or a science mind. But maybe some of those will kick some of those activities in the second semester. But we're all just kind of flying a little bit blind right now.
Next question, will students coming from abroad need any type of quarantine isolation for a couple of days, weeks before joining the rest of the group on a daily basis?
The 14 days protocols of them. So we're monitoring internationals and nationals the same way. Monitoring the 14 days because there's actually the US is the most risky country right now in the world. So we're monitoring everybody for the 14 days. That is reducing the risk or anticipating anything that we're going to have to do.
Yeah, and I think you guys should have got an email from me asking you to take the temperature day and night, morning and evening of your student, and just be ready to put that on a piece of paper. It can be handwritten or typed. So we start seeing a track record of when your students get here, and then we'll continue that for another 2 weeks just to ensure where we're all at with that. So right now the quarantining is recommended, not mandated. And so we're gonna watch what's going on. We, as Mr. Olm was saying, this country is actually the worst. Has the most numbers, and our particular area probably has one of the highest as far as Philadelphia area, as far as Pennsylvania.
A related question, I believe from the same person. My kids are coming from a green country with a very low number of cases. Is that still a problem for them to get into the US?
I don't think so. Not if you can get past the government.
Yeah. Is that Mexico?
So I think it's important. We've been monitoring very closely what's going on internationally. We have neighboring countries. There is no problem at all. So the U.S. have open borders for Mexico and Canada, and for students. The students with I-20 visas are considered essential travelers. So that is a concern. Besides the neighboring countries, every country has been establishing their own process. We, especially Mrs. Ingen and I, have been working very closely with families. If you haven't been able, you're a little bit concerned. I've been talking very closely with Brazil, Mrs. Ingen with Russia. We've been talking also with parents from Angola. We just had students coming in from Asia this afternoon. So I just got a call right now. They're on their way driving already. We have Mrs. Trevino driving some girls that are arriving. So it's been fluid, but we've been able to monitor and work with the families to find the conditions for the kids to be able to come when possible.
Yes, those Asian girls are from South Korea. We have one Chinese student who's been in the United States. She never left, and she's been living across the road. So there's no situation from China, at least.
There's a question about, will there be a virtual option?
Only for students that
cannot.
Yeah, we're working for a virtual option right now on those students who cannot make it here. That's mostly for international students at this point. But the virtual option we will be orientating our students to the virtual option so that if something were to happen and we had to go virtual, it would be seamless. So we've been working on the platform, the LMS platform, and also what we're going to be using as we're going to be using the Google suite. So we'll get our students familiar with it. So if we do have to go virtual, hopefully it'll be seamless.
Yeah, it's important to highlight. We really believe, and we see the government since the beginning understanding. I've been visiting a lot of kids this campus is one of the safest places. I visited kids in very urban cities with not the ideal situation to even staying at home. There are many psychologists all over the world just signing and saying how detrimental has been for a generation that is losing their youth and childhood. So that's why we've been putting a lot of effort to have everything here. We believe that we bring the best solution and safeness and in normality as possible. And so that's why we've been investing a lot of our efforts in having the classes live here.
And it's just better. The real benefit of a boarding academy is the social and the spiritual interaction. The academics are going to be solid, but what they really get is that little bit of independence, learning to grow in a safe environment. So we really feel to really get the best out of your education with a boarding school, you need to be here to experience it, to go through the struggles, to go through the things that we celebrate. So that's why we push for the face-to-face. As a teacher, I can't fathom not teaching face-to-face. I'm going to be teaching the histories this year. I am, as much as it's going to be a little bit of stress, I'm looking forward to getting face-to-face because because of the spiritual side of history. I teach history like it's a religion class because the Bible is interwoven throughout all of history and you can see God's hand in everything. And so it's a golden opportunity to answer questions, to fill discussion that you don't quite get when you're on a screen. You can have some discussion, but it's not as fluid. And there's been some wonderful teachable moments that I've had in the past teaching history and phys ed and health class as well, where students have just kind of come alive because they were in there. They fed off the energy of their classmates. You don't get that on a screen. And so we're really, really hopeful that our students will be able to stay here all year and they will walk away from here with a really wonderful experience. I think God's going to take this and turn it into something that is tremendously valuable for us to grow our characters and to mature our students. They're going to walk away from this. It's going to be something they'll always remember. It's kind of like when I don't want to date myself, but something big happens in history. So.
Another question. The faculty will be leaving campus every day. What protocols will they follow to keep the quarantine students safe?
Yeah, they'll have to have the masks on. They'll have to do the social distancing. They'll have to have their temperature taken like everyone else. That's the basic protocols. Keep their houses clean. And try, like for me, instance, I live across the road. I get into town probably less frequently than the students do, just because I seem to live in my office. So there'll be some faculty like that. Other ones that live further away will have to really monitor. In the same way we'll be monitoring our students.
What are the plans for vocational ed assignments?
Plans for, are we talking about the work portion? Who asked that one? Mr. Hazel. Can you clarify that question a little bit more? What part of, I can go over the whole vocational ed program if you'd like, so you can see that.
It's not working.
Okay, well, he sends that well, we can maybe answer another one
Okay.
and then go back to that question. Ever commented SALT as well?
Yes,
so
SALT
that's
has officially been canceled by the Columbia Union.
Next question, who is cleaning the dorms? If students, how will it be monitored to ensure it is done accordingly to guidelines?
Yeah, the deans will be on top of that. That will be a major portion of their job this year. If you've been in the dorms lately, you will know that both our deans are quite clean. And I think that's not going to be a big problem, but that will be something they'll have to train their leadership team on how to do.
Also a new group of assistant deans that are going to be
Right.
part of that.
And there'll be an assistant dean in each class and each dorm as well. So there will be training going on how to clean by the CDC guidelines.
Next question, it's again about the village students. So I don't know if we need to clarify that again. How is school going to work specifically for village students?
Yes, Monica, we'll be getting on that this next week so that we want to make this as seamless for our village students as well. I have I have a village student myself just down the road from you, so you're close to where I am. We just have to ensure that our students are healthy, and we're going to figure out how that's going to be, what details we're going to have. They'll have to have their temperature taken. They'll have to mask up. They'll have to do the social distancing. All those are basic, but if there's something else we can do, then we'll, I've got to talk to some of my friends that are principals and see what they're doing with their village. Some of my friends have large village populations. I'm interested to see what preventive methods that they're doing.
Right.
Bernie, this is Derek.
Students will have to share rooms.
No, in fact, in the document it states that the dorm students will have individual rooms. I'm not super excited about that from a social standpoint, but from a health standpoint, we feel that's the best way to keep things as sanitary as possible. So right now, each student will have their own room.
I think that was the last question. There's a comment that says, amen, praying for that and praying for you all. Thank you.
Please do. So let's go back to the VOED question. Excuse me. That was a dry throat. That wasn't COVID. The VOED, what we're doing with VOED this year, it's changing just a little bit. And some of the people that have been through VOED will be happy about this. We are requiring that our students who haven't been through 2 years of the ethics and skills program, and they have to pass those, they have to have 2 years in class. After that next year is going to be more of a, they're supposed to build a portfolio that they can take with them. This is, to me, I come from a family that on both sides of my family, on my wife's side and my side, that my siblings, my dad, her brother, they all have their own businesses. And so I've been around business people. And one of the things that I know that when you're interviewing someone, if they don't have a track record, it's hard to know what kind of a person you're getting. But if you had a portfolio, if you had documents of awards you've gotten, commendations you've gotten, different things that are in there, recommendations, all your, each quarter we have to do help me out here, evaluation. Those are all in there, and it shows a track record of quality work, and it shows what you've done, and it shows your interviews, and it has your resume, and it has all this stuff, and you're taught how to use it. That's a powerful piece that a lot of people don't have, especially coming out of our schools if they don't work. You know, a lot of your high school students, they get a job, and so they start building a track record. Well, you're in a boarding academy, your job's here on campus. So how are people going to know how you actually work? And so it's that's what this is going to be. It's that next step. You were in ethics, which is the beginning. Then you start to skills. Now you're a leader. And what does it mean to be a leader? How is it going to help your future? So that's kind of the idea behind that. So those people aren't going to have to retake ethics and skills again like we've done in the past. Now they move on to the next level. And hopefully that'll be much more valuable. That's going to occur 2 times a day. We're doing PE 3 times a day. Oh, a week, sorry. It's intense. 2 times a week for the VOED. And then they will have a 2.5 hour, somewhere in that range, block of time that they will have their lab work that they will do. So if they're an ethics student, they will rotate through the 4 main groups. If they are a skills student, then they can be more focused in one job area and move on towards leadership. Did that answer that question, Mr. Hauser? I'll make sure I was clear what you were asking.
All right. While you wait for him, Carol Piliero raised her hand, and I think she would like to talk at this time.
Okay.
Yeah, I just had one question about the Walmart visit. Are the students going to need cash, or how are they going to pay for that?
Well, I'm assuming it can be paid.
The items they need.
Yeah, we'll be picking them up. So I'm assuming they would need either cash or they would need to be able to pay at the office. They could probably do that way.
Yeah.
Well, I think what we're talking about is that the students can place their orders online
That's
directly
right.
at Walmart.
That's right.
So they can use any card and
Okay,
place it-
good. Okay,
And we'll go and pick it up for them.
Yeah, that's a better,
Okay.
thank you for clarifying that.
okay, thank you.
Yeah, the parents
Yes.
can place the
parents can place
orders.
the
You
order as
guys
well.
can, those familiar with the system, we use it a lot because that way we don't have to go into the store. So you place your order, you select all your items, and then you pay for them. You can select the Walmart that they're going to be picked up. So you can do that, and then you send information, and we can go and pick up.
Okay,
There's an application. You just need an account for it and pay with a card.
But we need to come up with.
thank you.
Yep.
Right, it'll be the same way we did with the girls and the guys on Sundays, is that there'll be set times. We'll look at what that's gonna actually be, so we're not constantly running back and forth to Walmart. That this is the day we're going, this is the day we're going, unless it's an emergency and I really, really need something and it is only 2 minutes away.
And we're also going to be providing a lot of the items of first need in our store also to facilitate health and stuff.
So we're going to increase the amount of items that we offer in our store. So students have the option to go into our health food store here and get some of those items that might be first. Yeah. We have next question is, will the dorm students still have to share rooms? I think I'm sorry, I read the same one. My apologies. That was. Will there be 2 services to space out a number of people in a sanctuary?
I don't think we'll need it. It's quite a large sanctuary. We should be able to fit in there. Our church members here are virtually just staff. I think there's 4 or 5 other church members. So we should be able to social distance. We were able to do it last year when we still had students here. We started practicing with them. And the harder part was getting to actually do the distancing because they started moving closer together. But there's plenty of room in this particular sanctuary. 4 or 5. Yeah. 4 or 5 to a row or so.
The same mask and temperature and things apply.
Yeah, we have the thermometers at the door when it comes in.
What if someone gets the COVID-19? Will they be treated at the school or will they be sent home?
We're going to try, and this would be up to the parent as well. If the parent wants their child home if they need COVID, we're going to try to do it here. So we'll have a free wing that we can quarantine. I think in the pamphlet, the document rather, on page 4 starts to talk about sickness, and then on page 5, if someone's diagnosed as having COVID. So if COVID shows up, the parents and the family and any personnel will be alerted to what's going on. We'll have to contact the health department, and they'll help give us some guidance on that. We're working with the health department as we talk about currently. Cafeteria, we had the health department there this last week, working with our new CAP director. So we'll be working closely with the health department on what happens if that happens. But if we do have someone with COVID, we will have to lock the school down. In the document, it says for 2 to 5 days in order to clean everything really well, and in order to let the local health department help give us some guidance. So we will go into a virtual situation if that occurs, if anyone comes down with COVID on campus and diagnosed with COVID. And you can find that on page 5 for more details on that.
Okay.
People say they're having a hard time understanding and shopping.
Will we still get a job with off the places we interviewed for during job fair last year?
Where did you interview, Matthew?
Where's Matthew?
I interviewed for Mrs. Lee, which I know that she's gone now, right?
Mm-hmm.
She's and then I interviewed for the health food store as well as the sign shop.
That would be, I would send Mr. Weber an email. He's the one who does that. And if there's anything that you might want to request. Have you been through skills yet?
I did the 1 year, so yeah, I guess.
What level were you?
I was level 2, but then I never heard back if I was leveled up during the last quarter because it was virtual, and my parents filled out the thing, but I never heard back if I actually leveled up.
Okay, well, if you leveled up, that will give you a little bit more fluidity. So I would ask Mr. Weber about that, and you can keep me in the
Okay.
loop. Just copy me on the email, so it'll keep me in line there. Yeah, a lot of people didn't do their interviews. They were supposed to, so I'm not sure how much credence we're putting on that. But if you did yours, that would definitely give you a leg up.
Okay, thank you.
Next question, I think we answered this already as well. What will the cafeteria situation be like?
Yeah, so we answered how the distancing is going to be. The cafeteria, we have, of course, the sneeze guards up. The salad bar is gone. As far as self-serve, everything is going to be served by people to the students. We wear masks behind the sneeze guards, and there'll be a limited amount of people. You can't just walk in the back of the caf, which you shouldn't do anyways. And it will continue to be cleaned on a regular basis, especially after each meal, disinfecting everything. So that part wasn't covered, but there will be social distancing in there, as well as it will no longer be self-serve. Everything will be handed.
Next question, who is the staff that will be at the school this year? I've heard there have been some changes. I was going to say that we just updated, we launched a few months back our new website, and the information there on the website is kept completely up to date. So if you look at the Meet Our Team page, you will see each of the staff members that are currently on campus and that will be on campus for next school year. There will be a few more that will be joining us in the next few weeks. And as they come in, we'll add them to the page. So we keep that completely up to date. You can see it on our website.
Yes, but if you're curious, Mr. Stewart has retired. And knowing that we were going to have a lower enrollment, I took over his history courses. And so that's one of the changes there. Mrs. Lee was not retained, and Mr. Barnhurst was not retained. Mr. Ingham will be teaching those math classes. So we kind of circle the wagons a little bit to get through this COVID year so that we can kind of move on. So, and Mrs. Cook is heading down to Tennessee. She's going to be working with the University of Vanderbilt, working with them, but she's going to be doing under watch of a doctor there, which is it's a good hospital. So we're not replacing her position. Mrs. Mathias has stepped up. It was a luxury to have English teachers for a school our size anyway. So we were able to keep most of our face-to-face college courses. The ones we had to drop would be Mr. Stewart's. He had a master's degree in history. My master's degree is in physical education. So I cannot teach college level history. But there are history options for enrollment online with the different universities.
When can you start doing enrollment for college courses?
I think it depends on the university you sign up with. If we're doing the online ones, so there's two different ways. Like for instance, Andrews has some you can do when you're a sophomore. Most of them want you to be a junior, but there are some you can start as a sophomore. I would recommend it. We started my daughter as an 8th grader with Algebra 1. She's in a situation now where she can take college algebra as a junior. She can work on pre-calculus. She'll have calculus done by the time she's a senior. So she's going to be walking into her freshman year in college as a sophomore because of all the classes she's been able to take here and the ones she'll be taking online, and she's going to do a summer class to get that up 30 or 33 hours by the time she's done. So if you are college inclined, I would highly recommend that you take those classes. We'll be offering personal finance is a college course. There's a music course that is college credit. There is English courses. Both English courses are still offered, as Ms. Mathias has a master's degree in English. What are some of the other ones I missed in here? Anatomy and physiology, that's right. We're actually having a meeting with Kettering University in about a month as we're starting to maybe try to partner with them to make our science classes more medical. Because I know sometimes taking A&P and you're going to nursing, like, that doesn't count because not the right A&P. So we're trying to streamline our classes, college courses, to be very practical for people to be able to use and save a tremendous amount of money in the long run. So what's another one?
I want to add a couple of things.
Add away.
One, if you take a dual enrollment course, you need to make sure that you read what the criteria is, because you do have to have a certain GPA, and there are different criteria. They're pretty similar in most of colleges. Secondly, if you sign up for something, don't just sign up and assume we're going to accept it. You need to bring it to us, bring it to Academic Standards Committee, which would go through Miss A. And so you would be requesting, could you take this course? Because we don't want you to be taking ones that we offer here. It would be something different from here. And then for those of you who have signed up for dual enrollment from BMA, that's now online too. So if you go to our website under the quick links, under forms and something in forms. I lost
Files
it.
and forms.
Files and forms. You'll see that it says dual enrollment with RAC or dual enrollment with WAU. That's Reading Area Community College is the Englishes and the psychology. That was the other one. And then with WAU, that's the A&P, personal finance, and the music. And so those are the ones that, and you would fill out the paperwork there. So we're trying to save time and for you to be able to read about it ahead of time, because all of these require parent signatures, which we have a hard time getting once you drop your child off first day of school. So they'll always be right there. And while you're looking at that page, you can also see that there's the supply list if you like to know what you need for some of the classes that are listed, the textbook list. And then over on the right is the defined dress code or the uniform from Black Lab Apparel. And if you haven't noticed from Black Lab Apparel, just an insert, they will be delivering to us on occasion. And so they have waived the shipping fee. So if you place your order and it's ready by the time registration comes, we should have some then. If it comes after that, they'll keep bringing it to the school as we hand it out.
Right, and just make sure you know there's a difference between dual enrollment and the online courses that you take for college credit. Andrews, Southwestern, YU, Southern, we'll be having agreements with them so that you'll have a broad spectrum. The one that's new this year, Southwestern, has sent us something with some courses on college algebra is one of those. And that could be very important for some students, depending on which direction they're heading in the future. If they know what they want to do. You know, me, I thought I knew what I wanted to do until I hit college, and then it changed. Other people, they know exactly what they're doing by the time, it's like they were born. I'm going to do this, and that's what they do. So they have a great advantage with these college courses.
Will these students definitely be allowed on campus?
Yes, unless we have to go virtual.
If a village student is a high risk, that's an issues, is there an online option for them?
Once again, we do have an online option. It's not the best. It's what I mean by saying that it's not as good as being face-to-face. There is, we will be trying to work through that, and it's basically the virtual program, and some of our students internationally will be taking that. But it's not the best option for education. There's some real psychological issues that sounds rough, but there are a lot of students who have struggled with the isolation. With that, we're going to be discussing that in our teachers' meetings next week, doing some webinars on this business fund that we're doing. Yes, if there's a health condition that prevents someone from coming here, we do have that option.
Did BMA acquire a school nurse?
No, we do not have a school nurse, unfortunately. What we're going to be trying to do, I was talking with the online with the principal from Fine Forge, and they have a virtual doctor. We're going to be looking into that, potential of having that on campus. We will have one of our staff members' wives who is a certified nurse in Italy, but not here. She's attempting to get that, and hopefully we'll be able to tap into that when that happens, when she's cleared to be a nurse. But there are no, we do have some parents around that are within walking distance of school in emergency cases. We'll be contacting the hospitals right now if we have an issue.
How are you going to determine if someone needs to be tested for COVID-19?
Well, for the symptoms, the CDC has a list of symptoms. It's tough because some of those symptoms can just be the flu, or it could be, which is bad as well, it could be a simple cold. We don't want to overreact, but we definitely want to make sure we may have to get people tested.
And the need especially will be monitored.
Right. Each student will be monitored daily, and as students come down with a cold, they'll be monitored even more frequently to ensure that the symptoms of COVID aren't showing up. If they are, then we'll have to get them tested, and then we'll go through our COVID lockdown protocols. if that happens.
Any chance of getting dual credit for history this year?
The only way you can get dual credit for history, I'm trying not to yell at the camera, but I think people are having a hard time hearing, so I'm gonna talk a little louder, is if you take this class online. That's the only way you can get history college credit this year. You have to have someone on campus with a master's degree in that particular field of education to be able to teach the college courses. So we don't have that in history this year.
Volume spike is actually changed.
Yeah.
The internet does that, especially with so many people connected at the same time.
So I have to yell. Thank you. So
Who will be the assistant deans?
One of the boys' assistant dean is Jacob Heineman. He is a religion major at Weimar. The other one is Sarah, I can't remember her last name. She is a B-A-U-T-E. She is a nursing major from Weimar as well. So those are the the students. They're both in their third year of school, and they are what would be in the years past they were called task force. We can't call them that now. It's an intern position. The girls assistant dean is highly musical. She has actually cut CDs. She sang on KDN for Kids Time. So she's possibly going to be helping some with the music, which would be nice. The board assistant dean, Jacob, is extremely active. He also sings bass and choir. So I think we have a good balance of active people in the dorm.
Will the PE class be run in the same way as last year, even though it's not required? Exercise, not more academic?
It's going to be required for those that need it. It will not be necessary. There will be some exercise portion to it, but it's going to be more of a traditional PE class where we'll probably do some individual sports like badminton, golf. The gym's nice and big, and you can actually blast the golf ball. It's really cool. So that will kind of minimize the interaction like you did from a team sport, or if people were creating it or doing a high intense exercise. I'm really disappointed we're not going to be able to do that. The benefits from that were substantial. We had kids at breakfast on a regular basis. We had less people come late to school in the morning because they were awake. And the exercise has benefits socially, mentally, physically, and spiritually. So we were garnishing all these, and we're going to lose that with COVID. So I'm hoping we'll be able to start that up again next year, if not, maybe even second semester.
And just to add to that, in case you're a student out there wondering, is it me? Do I get to miss PE? The way you can figure that out is if you've been at BMA, our PEs are all worth 5 credits, and you need 15 credits of PE in order to fulfill the PE requirements, with health being the other 5 to make 20. So if you're a freshman, yes, you'll be in PE. If you're a sophomore, yes, you'll be in PE. If you're a junior, if you've been here the whole time, you will be in PE. If you've been somewhere else and maybe they offered more credits, it may or may not be your choice. Same with the seniors. So pretty much freshmen and sophomores will be in there. Juniors and seniors, you just have to look at your schedule and your credits.
Will flight training resume as usual? What will aviation be like this year?
It's going strong right now.
Yeah, we don't have Eric here right now, but as you know, it's all in place to understand it.
That's interesting. We have you'll see the new aviation shed.
The hangar.
Oh, that's not in here. The hangar. It's very nice that they're building over there. We have a new doctor that is going to be living close by. His wife wants to be involved with the school. She is was a biology teacher in the past and worked with them before. So we'll have connections to doctors, and so there's a lot of things happen positively here. God's sending us people to help us in the situation. So even amongst all this, we're really excited with what the potential is for us here.
Will the kids have any chance during the days of exercise like you did last year?
If you're talking about morning, there will be intramurals at night. and they can exercise if they'd like. The boys' dean has gotten very proactive. The guys will see it, and he has sold a bunch of the old weights that were in the gym and his area, a bunch of new things, and the weight room is spectacular right now. So the boys at least will have some stuff. The girls need a little bit more help with that. I think we'll be trying to help them get some things as well. It's important to exercise. So that will be available to them, as well as intramurals. We'll still run games following the proper guidelines. We're going to be outside as much as possible. So we're going to be encouraging activity. We're going to need it. We don't want to go so crazy here. We want first snow. We want to have big snowball fights. We want to have build snowmen. We want to get out and do things because I'm really missing the exercise in the morning. And yes, PE is at 6:30 as usual in the morning.
And I think there's a question maybe for Diana. Does AA count as PE credit?
This is something that we're discussing. In the past, it has not, but we will look into it and see if that's something that can or can't. So we got to do a little research.
That's right. We're going to be looking at hours to be involved. With this COVID situation, if it helps trim down the size of the class, it's much more likely to happen. I think we can legally do it. We just got to make sure it's what we want for the program. And Ms. Inga and I talked about that just today. So we'll be looking at creative ways, but we don't want to also diminish PE and its importance.
And also another thing we need to remember is if we make some changes for COVID, it may be that it changes back the norm. So it can't just be something that happens and then we say, well, it happened a year ago, why can't it happen?
Right.
So we just have to play along with the rules that are set up for us at the time.
How about cell phone policy? Any changes?
I don't think.
I'm sorry,
Cell phones.
I don't think we have any cell phone
That's
changes.
not facts.
The policy is listed on our, is it on Paxton or?
It's part of the enrollment process. It's part of the enrollment process. So one of the steps is the personal media device, the PMD, and it outlines all the policy. It has not changed, and it requires a signature from the parent and the student. It might have some.
One thing did change. I believe that cell phones are not allowed in the cafeteria.
That's right. That's right. That's right. We wanted people to, of all things, communicate together and talk together. We would go into meals, people would just be on their phones. So we're trying to encourage conversation. So now that we have COVID, we're encouraging going across the table. That matters.
I think that's all the questions we have.
Okay, so there was a couple more that was on here just to clarify. The question was asked about lunch. Will lunch be different from breakfast and supper? Supper and breakfast, students will be going more, and they will all be staggered in that PE class will probably get the breakfast later than those who aren't in PE class. And lunch, we have our VOED people go first, and our class is out at 12:15, 15 minutes later. So that group will then go. So everybody won't be cramming out at the doors. And supper's the same way because of choir, Belcanto, Los and AA. Those students will get out a few minutes later than everybody else can go. So there's always a meal during the week where those staggered times when people are going. Just so that's something else with the cafeteria that was asked on here.
And we have a new cafeteria director.
Yes, we do. Is she here?
Oh, I'm sorry, I missed.
Yeah, we have a new cafeteria director. I think she's doing a spectacular job right now with Maranatha, who is here working on the girls' dorm, and she's cutting her teeth here with Maranatha. So I think she'll have a solid cafeteria being run, and she's very, 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 very clean and very, very cognizant of the COVID situation. She says it's not going to be me that takes the school down. So she's very going to be very good with the COVID situation.
In the event a student comes down with the virus and you lock down campus, will village students be released?
Yes, they'll be released to their house. They'll have to stay there, and then they'll be distance learning for however many days. And then we'll have to also be checking everybody's temperatures and those kind of things. We'll need the village students to do those as well. For village students, because it's 6:30, I do independent study those students have the option. My kids, my personal kids, they come to PE. They're like, why can't we independent study? Because I'm deaf. But other people, I understand that's early to try to get here. And then where they're going to take a shower and all that stuff. So we set up an independent study with them. Some people take that and run with it. Other people, it's, just let their students do it. So if you do need independent study, just know that you have to be the one that stays on top of your child to make sure things are being done. And you have to make sure they send me your signature, your sign from your email saying that this is what they did during this time. And I put that into it. Based on that, since you're grading your child.
I believe the majority of students that lived on campus, they all came to PE. It was easy. They all walked there, rode their bikes, got a ride or whatever. And then there was time for them to run home, to shower, and eat, because they didn't have to wait in line for any kind of those things. So I know my live-in student went, your kids went, the road they went. So it was mostly those that drove from a distance that didn't come. There were very few of those.
There's about 7 students that last year that did independent study.
Is there still someone on campus that can cut hair?
I'll cut hair. You won't want to see it. I will not let girls' hair go.
The boys' dorm just got a new barber chair, and they fixed up their barber room, and it looks really, really nice. So I know that they had Lewis over there cutting hair for the boys.
This is fun now. The new vice principal, he's going to officially buzz cut for all the guys, so you won't have to get haircuts very much.
That's it.
All right, are there any more questions? Anyone need to say anything?
Hi, yeah. Sorry, maybe you answered this already and I was not paying attention. Forgive me if I was not. About the aviation, will that resume as normal? Flightless?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much.
Oh, yes. We want to make sure he finishes it up. He's invested a lot of time into that program. We're very proud of what he's done. We're very proud when he soloed for the first time. A little celebration.
One more, someone said, what about Operation Safe Haven?
Lewis is no longer here. I'm not sure where he is. I have received requests for references. So it looks like he is trying to become a Bible worker somewhere, what he went to school at Core for. So I'm excited for Lewis. I think he's going to be a wonderful Bible worker. I can't say, I don't want to say where, but it was a very reputable conference that was asking for him. So I don't know if he actually got hired there or what, but I have not seen Lewis probably a month. Personally, I don't know if he's been around or not.
I saw him last night.
Oh, good. So anyway, I just said, Lewis is around. But I think he's looking for a Bible worker job right now.
We can close in an hour, 15 minutes. There's nothing else here right now.
Okay, well, there's no other need for questions. We'll have prayer and take a deep breath. The school's going to be happening quick. All right, let's bow our heads for prayer. Would you mind having prayer for us?
Sure. Father in heaven, thank you for this opportunity that you are providing us to talk to the students and parents, Lord, and as staff members and faculty. We come to you and grateful for the opportunity to be at BMA, Lord. This is your school. This is the place where we can encounter you, Lord. And we ask you to be the center of this campus, Lord. I want to ask you for a special blessing for this coming year. It's going to be a hard one, but we know that you are in control, Lord. And we ask you for the Holy Spirit to guide us. And we ask you, Lord, for that you will be with us through the whole year. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you, everyone. And Lord willing, we'll see you guys on Sunday the 9th. Amen. Bye.